Hitting the trails for the first time on your e-mountain bike is guaranteed to be a load of fun. You're definitely going to learn a lot of things along the way. So today I'm going to be showing you 5 things you should definitely do on your first e-bike ride. Now, one thing I do see a lot of out on the trails is riders actually using the wrong gear on their e-bike for the trail they're riding, kind of substituting the right gear selection for the power mode, so switching up from eco to trail or trail to turbo instead of changing gear. Now on an e-bike, it's super important to get that gear right. It's going to give you the right cadence, and the right cadence is going to give you the right assist from the motor. So make sure you're reaching for the gear lever rather than the power mode. Now when it comes to changing gear on your e-bike, it's definitely a black art, something you definitely need to perfect. So when you're climbing up those climbs, if you crunch through the gears, crunching away at the cassette, not only is it going to wear out your components, you could run a risk of snapping a chain too. So the technique for doing it is to really ease off on the power and let that gear kind of nicely engage. You'll feel it click onto the cassette, then engage full power through the cranks. If you simply crunch it through, you could be riding the stem in a tender place. Now cadence is super important on your e-bike to make sure you're getting the most assist from that motor. If you go any lower than that, then the motor is simply not going to assist you and give you the most power that it can. It's almost like labouring your car in the wrong gear. So just make sure your cadence is around 80 to 90 RPM. If you're not too sure on what cadence you're doing, most systems will actually have that display on the system. So if you scroll through your menu, you will actually find cadence on the Shimano and the Yamaha system and many more. So just make sure you're spinning that motor up. I strongly suggest you find a nice climb on your first e-bike ride as well and sample each different power mode, all the way from eco all the way up to boost and turbo mode. Just noting how much assistance each mode gives you and how it reacts with the bike as well. You're going to find in eco mode, if you're actually selecting the right gear, a lot is actually possible in eco. If you want to see how much assistance eco actually gives you, just try switching that motor off for a brief moment and then going back into eco, and you'll actually be surprised by the surge of power coming from that bike. Then obviously you've got trail mode, which is going to give you a nice bit of boost. Then boost mode, as I mentioned, is going to give you that bigger surge of power. Now you might notice that the bike's going to wheel spin, it's going to want to lift around. It's all about finding that right balance of what power mode is going to suit the trail that you're riding, and when you need to go into eco and when you need to go into boost. When you're out for your first ride on your e-mountain bike, you really want to get used to using a dropper seat post. That's if you have one on your bike, that is. If you haven't got one, it's time to look at when to get in and out of the saddle. But as I say, if you have got a dropper, you really want to get used to dropping it on the downhill sections or technical bits of trail and raising it for the climbs as well. That way it's going to give you good cadence, it's going to give you maximum leg power, but just get used to dropping it up and down as to when it suits. Also for climbing, you can actually go against the grain and try it with the seat down low. That way you're going to lower your centre of gravity and improve grip to the rear wheel on those slippy climbs. One of the key things to do on your first ride is take note of how much battery you're actually using on your rides. So if you've been out for an hour or so, have a look at your battery, see how much you got left. If you've got 50% of your battery left, it means you can pretty much do the same. Again, you can use things such as Strava or your bike system to actually document how far, how much elevation and things like that you're actually getting from your battery. Learn to ride in eco all the way through to boost and manage that battery power. Something you definitely want to be doing on your first ride is getting in tune with the motor on your bike. Now you want to take into factors such as the overrun of the motor. How does that assist you when you stop pedaling? Now most motors tend to do a few revolutions of the chainwheel once you stop pedaling. You can actually use that to your advantage on technical trail systems. So learning that overrun is definitely important, as is getting the right cadence, finding that sweet spot for the motor for the maximum assist. Another thing you want to note is the noise of the motor. Make sure that doesn't increase as you're using the bike, because it could mean there's a potential motor bearing problem or something going on with the motor. And lastly, the last thing I suggest you do is exceed the speed limiter to make sure you know how that bike resists when you surpass the speed limiter on it. So when you're bombing down the hill, you know how much effort you're going to need to put into the system. So there you go, that's my top 5 things that I suggest you do on your first e-bike ride. But if you guys got any other suggestions, drop us some in the comments box below about what you did on your first e-bike ride. But if you want to stick around and check out another video, check out how to set up your cockpit and get it dialed so you're feeling comfortable on your first ride. Then give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, smash a globe in the middle of the screen to subscribe to EMBN, and hit that notification bell to get a notification every time we upload a video here as well, so you're not missing out. Thanks a lot, see you in the next one.